Everyone wants to use AI, but they're not sure exactly where to start, right? It doesn't make logical sense to use AI for everything. So how can we get one project or program successful? How do we know where to use AI and where not to? And I know, Casey, you mentioned before starting with one use case and making it more digestible. Why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's a really good question, a very broad question, but it's, we clients are obviously like, hey, where can we use AI? Kind of infinite, like versus like, hey, where should we use AI? And my mind kind of goes to where's there friction in your day-to-day process, your workflow? Like that's my mind goes to, it's like, hey, if we could automate this, would that save you 2 hours a day? Right. So again, like where we kind of work is, where we think is, starting point is to look where workflows are, people are reviewing or interpreting or handling exceptions. This is where AI can add value. That's where we can gain those efficiencies and just kind of get rid of the mundane. And I can go back to focusing on more strategic initiatives or executing my day to day in a more effective manner. Like we're trying to bring and that's where it really is AI is helping organizations, identify significant efficiency gains, better work-life balance, if you will, where it just, my mind kind of goes to just where am I constantly looking at something, constantly errors, reviewing logs, right? Again, that's where my mind kind of goes to that example earlier, where if I have a significant log of issues, how can I use AI to, what are constant themes in here? What do we need to change around this workflow or this automation? Again, so it's kind of, just thinking through where is there friction in my day to day? Just because I hear you on that, and we get it internally here at Baker Tilly as well. Like we need to start using AI. Great. There's still that gap on where can I effectively use this, just because, as I was saying earlier, it's a new way of thinking and utilizing the technology, right? So it's, again, other things that I think about are, I want to identify, again, start very small with that use case, learn from that. Because again, that'll kind of get you versed in the technology. And then once you kind of build that fluency, that's when we kind of see those light bulbs go off where, hey, I see how we did it in this process. I'm having the same issues in this process. How would I apply that here? And again, it's just kind of starting very small and learning as you kind of go.
Yeah, those are some good points there. And especially on the point of going towards that project or that program or that part of the business where you're seeing a lot of friction. Not to put you on the spot here, but are there any examples or any use cases where you've targeted that friction point and now you're seeing ROI after implementing? And it's okay if no, because I know that number is pretty small, especially from the poll.
Well, I'll tell you, so again, my use case for AI, it's different than I think probably a lot of the people on this webinar, but look, we're in consulting and it's, I'm working with clients to, solve their business problems, utilizing technology, whatever that technology may be. The big friction in my day-to-day was, okay, taking what the client had told me and then putting that into a statement of work, right? So again, it's, if I'm like everybody else on this call, I get off this, I'm on another call, I forget, right? So what I've done, again, with our client's permission, is I'm recording these call transcripts. And what I've done is we've built our own internal kind of AI tool I've grounded it with historical statements of work. So I'm taking call transcripts, uploading that transcript into our own private tool. So again, it stays behind our firewall. And now I have a statement of work at least 95% of the way there in a matter of 15 minutes rather than a matter of 6 hours, right? Again, that's my use case, just because I kind of did what I laid out, where I knew there was friction. Here's how I'm using AI. It's very good in text. It gets me at 90 something that's 95% of the way there. But now I've saved 6 hours of my day versus having to then go back and think, what did this client tell me at 9 o'clock in the morning versus when I'm finally getting around to it, to writing it at 5 p.m. Again, very unique use case just for my day to day. Again, it'll be different from, I think, people on the call. So I answered your question. I don't know how effectively, Chris, I answered your question just.
Well, you answered it well, and I think you followed your own framework, right? That was the most annoying personal issue that you were dealing with, and then you solved it. Jan, do you have any thoughts here?
So, yeah, lots of thoughts. It really comes down to, I think today, a lot of companies want to do something with AI. There's so much hype, and perhaps they don't know where to start. Perhaps they are trying to take on too much. And I certainly want to speak from some of the experiences we've had personally here internally at Celigo, and we have lots of examples of customers as well, in trying to find the areas that will really make an impact on the business. Don't think necessarily in terms of you need to go the entire distance and go with, for example, a fully autonomous agent, when a fair bit of that work, if not all of that work, can be done through a regular orchestrated workflow that is fully deterministic and predictable. And there are massive benefits to that, because in the end, you get predictable results. I think what we've seen, and perhaps this is the key takeaway that I want to impart here, is finding that middle ground, finding areas where you can use AI to augment existing workflows. And if I may, I'm going to give you a quick example. This is one of my pet projects. So again, last year, we decided, we had lots of these conversations internally and looked at where can we use AI in the most effective manner. And one area was to use AI to prospect. And so we decided to go build a set of prospecting agents. And it is just magical in terms of what it can do. And I really quickly want to contrast some of the options that we had. The ideal solution would have been to say, have this evergreen agent who's running all the time, that is looking at customers, the target customers that we want to acquire, and is prospecting them and generating meetings, right? And it's running without any human in the loop. Doesn't that sound wonderful? But we don't trust it to do that. That's where we want to get to at a certain point. But instead, we have a series of agents, modular agents, where after performing some work, such as finding lookalike accounts in a certain industry, getting some of the contact information, writing personalized emails, booking the meetings, there's a human in the loop after every agent executes a certain piece of work, so that we have full control. And that, I think, is a great example of being practical and really moving the needle, instead of trying to shoot for the stars and say, build me an agent that's just going to do everything auto-magically. There's a time and a place for that. Certain business processes can be done. So today and others, the LLMs are not ready, right? So it's being able to recognize and having that practical, pragmatic viewpoint, I think, is important.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I think when we first entered the AI hype cycle, everyone was pretty far to the right, or at least they thought that fully autonomous was the option, that it was feasible, that LLMs were up to the test. And like you mentioned, we found that a lot more practically, a lot of these use cases are right in the middle. And another example I know we've done internally is we had an accounts receivable issue where there were, I believe it was 40% of our inquiries were the same three problems, right? It was billing, invoice information, et cetera. And it's a little daunting to have an agent crafting and sending emails to customers about billing with no oversight. So instead, the way that we met in the middle there was we have AI drafting the email, and then there's a human who reads over and validates that that email is correct, there's no typos, that it's referencing the right things, and then they hit send. So we're able to see value, but we're also able to put some guardrails in place so nothing goes off the rails per se.